So, if you had one message about AI in music, what would that be?
Using AI, you type in a prompt and the song gets out. That's not music making, that's entertainment, and it's fine.
Where do you see the biggest opportunity? You're seeing AI so up close.
If people hone their creativity, it is the single most important thing you can do to prepare yourself for this new age. But if you get stuck, it's going to be hard because things are going to keep changing so fast.
Kakul Srivastava is an award winning entrepreneur whose mission is building companies that empower creators, grow communities, and create great customer experiences. She is the CEO of Splice, the world's leading platform for music creators. Kakul was also named one of Time's 100 most influential people in AI in 2025 for shaping how technology empowers rather than replaces human creativity. Kakul, welcome to AI Basics. So, Kakul, first of all, welcome to AI Basics. We're so excited to have you here. You're leading Splice at a time when music and AI are colliding faster than anyone expected. Chart topping AI tracks, new creator tools, virtual artists, and debates are happening every single day. I'm just exhausted seeing the news reel. Forget being part of it. But we're excited to dive into this because the future of music, creativity, and what does it all mean for the next generation? So
I
let's
have all
begin.
the answers.
Oh,
No.
I'm so glad because you know what? We're looking for the answers and we're desperate. But one of the things we've learned in this internet age is that time is short and attention spans are even shorter. So if you had one message about AI and music, what would that be? We kind of get it out of the way right in the beginning.
The one message is AI is a tool. You shouldn't be scared of it. You should explore it. It's a tool like any other. And the sooner you start using it, the sooner you'll figure out what's going to be useful about it and what's not going to be useful about it. Using AI, you type in a prompt and a song gets out. That's not music making, that's entertainment, and it's fine. If that's entertaining for you, you should absolutely go do that. But the people who make music are working on a much harder problem, which is getting their deep emotions, their deep ideas out from their hearts into music. And I think the tools that we have to use AI to do that today are still in the early stages. There's a lot to do, and there's a lot that's still to come.
That's exciting. But the question really does become because, we see this, we think we've all become experts, right? Because now that we can type in a prompt and we think now we're great poets, we're great musicians, we're great video editors. And so it's good that you're putting that into place because people do get worried because it makes it sound so simple. But I want to come
Mhm.
back to this because, first of all, congratulations on being named Time's 100 most influential people in AI. How did that moment feel? I mean, what was it like?
It was honestly, it was a surprise because I feel like I'm one of many people who are doing incredible, there are a lot of people who are doing incredible work in AI right now. But I do think that the reason I was recognized is because they see the work that we're doing at Splice as being really important. We've been very, very vocal about our unique way of building AI tools, which is to put human beings still at the center of the creative process. We think when human beings have better tools, we will have greater music and greater creativity in the world, but they have to be at the center of it. We have described the opposite as being push button creativity. You push a button, you type a prompt, and the song comes out. And we think that that's not the right way to put human creativity at the center. We also think that companies have a responsibility around how they train their models and that they should respect the content that's made by human beings when they use it as training data, and they should provide adequate remuneration back to the original creators. So, with that, we've been very vocal around being artist centric, creator centric in how we build AI tools. And I think that's what the time recognition was really about. It was about the values and the ideas that we're pushing forward.
No, that's fantastic. But can you give us some examples of where you've seen that, look, putting creators at the center and that has really exploded their creativity or taken them to the next level so that we can maybe understand that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, I'll give you an analogy. In the 50s and 60s, synthesizers became a big deal, right? And I can find you articles from that time that really talk about how synthesizers are going to take jobs away. They can be used to emulate different musicians, so now you don't have to hire an orchestra. And some of those jobs did go away. The music industry today is far bigger, despite those job losses. There are more people doing it. And then you had people like Stevie Wonder, who's one of my favorite artists, who really took artistry with the synthesizer to the next level. And I think that is possible with AI. I was at a conference recently where Grimes spoke about how she's using AI in her workflows. I think all of the best creators are using AI in their workflows, but they're using it as a tool. They're using it as a way to explore different directions for their art, but they're not using it to sit back and eat pizzas or something because the AI is making their art for them. I was even at my daughter's art show at her high school last week, and one of the students there had generated AI-based photography as their art project, and it was really profound. It was something that was still the student's original idea, the concept of the art. And I think that's really what you're going to see is people and artists and creatives using AI in really interesting, influential, powerful ways, but that human idea, that human creative force is still behind it.
Now, but when you see this AI generated music and it's topping the charts, what was your first honest reaction? Is it excitement? Is it concern? Because let me tell you, as a human being now, we can't tell the difference. We listen to this music and somebody might say, okay, is it AI generated or human generated? For the human being, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I still work with people. We have incredible audio scientists who work at Splice. And I definitely think that people can tell, but it's getting very, very close for sure. I don't know if, lay people can always tell the difference. That's for sure. I think that we used to have this concept with movies, Suki, that, this is a CGI movie.
Yes.
And now we don't say that anymore because every movie is a CGI movie. Digital video editing has been used, computer generated pieces of the art are in every movie. That's just how movies are made. We're going to see that with AI as well. We're going to see there are going to be parts of everything that are using AI. Even the conversation you and I are having
Yes.
today,
Some
right?
of it will
We're
be
using
edited using
AI
AI.
mixing, AI
Yeah.
mastering, AI video editing, AI audio editing. All of that is happening. That is going to be just the way it is. So the distinction of this was AI generated or not AI generated, I think the reason people are really focused on this right now, though, is there are some really important unanswered questions about current generation AI music, which much of the AI-based tools are using content that they have
Copied. I'll put
copied
it maybe
illegally. Right,
simply.
right. They're using it illegally, and that's a problem. So when someone, nameless person gets a chart-topping hit that is derived from other people's work, that there's just something about that feels wrong. And but as these questions get answered at the industry level, I think you'll see AI enhanced music everywhere. And I think that's a good thing.
But I think you've raised a very, very deep question because this question is being raised for all of the AI tools. The
Yeah, I mean the
question
New
of
York Times
training,
doing
yeah.
ChatGPT, right? All
I mean,
every
perplexity, everybody is training it on what we would say is possibly not public data. It's some of it
Yeah,
is copyrighted data. I mean, we've seen Claude had to pay what 1.5 billion for using a lot of the books. There are more
right.
lawsuits that are coming in terms of what is fair content usage. So that's interesting because also in music, that's the big thing, and so is it in movie
Yeah.
making.
Yeah. And I don't think it has to be. So this is the thing. So Splice also has GenAI models that enable our users to make music. And we're testing it in beta. You can go use it today if you go to splice.com. Um, but we have gotten rights for every single piece of data that goes into training our models. We have worked with artists, we've gotten the rights. It's possible to make incredibly high quality models doing the right thing for the industry. I think we just have to get to a place where everyone is doing that.
Now, you've raised again another interesting point because these model wars, and it seems
Yeah,
like every day somebody is fighting it or another and releasing something. The way that we have seen these video generation models popping, are we seeing the same speed in music generation?
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that that is actually going to fuel the next generation of the startup ecosystem. I think this is really important. Like we just saw a really cool company, I think 2 weeks ago. They announced a new product. We're like, oh my God, this looks super cool. Let's go check it out. And as we looked into the company, it was like, oh, they're using this company's model for this part. They're using this company's model for this part. And I think as all of these models get to be quite good, you'll see people picking and choosing which model works best for which workflow, and that everyone is designing their applications to be able to switch models in and out. And so you're seeing that very high, almost quality layer. And I wouldn't say it's commoditization because it's actually still, there's a lot of differentiation between them. But I think that leads to a flowering of the next level of innovation for the industry.
Now, tell me one thing that just drives you crazy because when you talk to lay people like us, what is the biggest misconception about AI music that we have that drives you absolutely mad? I know because a lot of us just look at it and we just read the headlines. We don't go into the details.
I think the biggest thing that makes me nuts is thinking that when you type in a prompt and get a song out, that that's music making.
And we
You
think
know,
we're
I
bright.
well, I don't mind people thinking that they're bright and that they've got, great ideas. I think that is fun. It is totally something people should do. They're great use cases. I'm not saying people should stop doing it. I just don't think that that's what making music is about. And there's a perceived threat that a lot of people making music like that are somehow going to change what it means to love music. And those of us who really do love music, and in India in particular,
Of
music
course.
is such a huge part of daily life, whether it's, kids playing on Antakshari or every Bollywood movie, it's a huge part of that world. And the people who make that music that becomes part of our lives put so much into it. And yes, they will use AI tools, but the human art, the human creativity that goes into making great music, the music that actually touches our souls, is a different category of work. And seeing that they're actually quite different from each other.
Now tell me, your mission, I know you've been very clear about it, is to empower creators, right? But in a world where these algorithms are just really growing at maximum speed, I would say, do you feel that your mission will also change, not only for creators, but also for the general public, kind of to equalize our ability to create music?
I think our ability to create music will come from how much we care about the content that we're creating, right? How much we care about the music that we're creating. I think a lot of people will create music, something that sounds like music that is some throwaway. It's just a fun thing I was doing, right? Like we're goofing around, we're making songs about people we used to know when we were kids, right? That's a fun activity and it's joy in itself. And I think there'll be a place for that. I think there'll be people who, whether they've studied, gotten masters and PhD in music theory, or they're just, one of our kids with no music theory, but they still care about the craft of music making. They're really trying to still get this idea out. And I want to remove obstacles from people when they really care about that craft. So that's the work that I'm doing. That's the work that I've done all my career, which is about building better creative tools that make them accessible to more people. And at Splice, we're absolutely doing that. We are the leading music creation platform that's used by professionals, used by sophisticated music makers, but we've released a mobile app. We are absolutely looking at how we can bring that same power, that same quality, the same ethics and values to increasingly easier to use tools that can be used by everyone. And
Now,
you'll
one
see,
of I
we
know
haven't launched
one.
anything yet. It's coming in Q1. So unfortunately, I can't say more, but it's definitely
But
coming.
we're waiting for that. But let me tell
Yeah.
you this, because a lot of people, like I see, that are in the arts right now are
Yeah.
really seriously confused. Because being a musician anyway was a very tough career choice, especially, in the Indian market where everybody wants you to be an engineer, a doctor, kind of take a very safe career path.
Yeah.
And now with all of these tools coming in, people are even more worried that can they actually make a career in this area?
Yeah, I think that's a real concern, but I think that's a concern for every industry. I have parents who are talking to me like, should my kid study engineering? Or
Yeah.
is that
I,
a
I,
job
I would
loss?
ask you that too.
Yeah. Or, should my, kid go and be an investment banker? Will there still be a job left? I think there's going to be a lot of disruption across the entire industry. And maybe this is naive, but I think the same things that made people successful in other times are the things that will make kids successful in this new generation. Are
Can you
you
tell?
curious? Are
Yeah.
you creative? Do you have resilience? Are you able to build great relationships? Are you able to work hard and learn new things? Those are the things that matter. And they matter in music, and they matter in investment banking, and they matter in computer science.
But now, people really like kind of a checklist kind of approach. We kind of just want somebody to tell us the path. Where do you see the biggest opportunity? You're seeing AI so up close.
Yeah. I actually think that creativity, I've talked about how creativity is under attack. It's under attack by these tools that give you this sort of feeling of creativity without actually helping you become more creative. But it's also under attack by the things that take attention away and that fill up all of our, free time. Because creativity takes time, it takes thoughtfulness, it takes multiple trials of not trying something and not going down that direction, going a different direction, all of that stuff. I genuinely think that if people hone their creativity, it is the single most important thing you can do to prepare yourself for this new age. Because there is so much that is not known. All you can teach yourself is how to observe what's happening, how to understand it, how to change direction, how to learn new things. It's the only thing that matters.
And
I
coming to
wish I
that,
could say if you just study this course,
I
you'll be
know.
fine.
I people,
But
I just
that's just
want,
not the world.
yeah, somebody just wants that. Tell me just what to do, which career to take, what should I plan for? But let's talk about these models. And, they are becoming a part of our life, and everybody is using them because even when you look here, you think about it, we're sitting here in India. I just went to a conference, all the women, all the MSMEs, everybody is just talking about how do I integrate this into my business, into my life. But there's
Yeah,
also a rallying cry that a lot of these tools are either dumbing us down or they're not actually creative. And especially now, a lot of people are talking about
I agree.
music
I
made with
agree.
generative AI is actually
Right.
not music, it's not art.
I was in a taxi the other day, taxi Uber, and I was listening to music, and I was like, "This sounds," I like jazz and blues a lot. I'm like, "This sounds kind of like BB King." And so I asked him, like, what is this? And he gave me the name of the band, and I looked it up. and it was an AI generated band. But inevitably, you could tell that this product had been trained on Chicago style blues. And so it sounded almost like their music, but not quite their music. And I think that that's a lot of us are like, that feels weird. There was an article recently that I read about someone being in a cafe listening to Christmas music. And again, very familiar sound, but totally made up. And it feels wrong. It feels uncanny valley. And so you are sensing, even in the consumer space, this pushback against this kind of noise pollution, as people would say, or
Music slop.
visual music slop, visual slop. I've noticed, my kids, even though they're relatively young, have a very good eye and they can recognize. I'll forward them something that I saw on Instagram and they'll say, Mom, why did you send me that AI thing? I'm like, was that AI? Oh my God, I totally. And they're like, it was so obviously AI, Mom. So I think that we're still living in this sort of messy middle world where, all of this content is existing. I do think we'll get better at being able to say, no, that doesn't belong here. You're seeing all the news from Spotify and all of these DSPs who are actively taking steps to take AI music off their platforms. So I think I think the industry is recognizing that it's a need to take this slop off. Having said that, I do think ultimately AI is going to be a tool that you use like all the other tools to make your final content, and it'll be built into a lot of it. I think the thing that people are responding to is that when it's not the human who's driving the creative, you know, you can tell that difference. That's the difference with the slop. And, we'll
But
find a
it's
way to take it.
No, but it's very interesting because like we were speaking before, I have 9-year-old daughters and they're
Yeah,
old school. They're just obsessed with Taylor Swift.
I know.
Nothing new, same music, but they're not,
There,
I mean,
that's so okay. You and I are gonna fight about this because I think Taylor Swift's amazing. I think there's so much great stuff that she's innovating on all the time. We can talk about.
oh my God, she is their favorite. But what I
It's
find
my favorite
interesting,
too.
they're growing up in this music age, but they're still going back to the artists that have,
Yes,
and when they
because
find out there's not a
that's part of
person,
the art. Yeah,
they're not interested in that music anymore. So I think what you've said is that it's not only music, it's also the person. Both of
absolutely.
these are so interrelated.
Yeah, no,
In,
I
in
totally agree. And I think with Taylor Swift in particular, that's been her strength since she herself was a 15-year-old, 14-year-old. She had a massive social media following prior to becoming a great artist. And I think that she has been incredibly savvy in how she's built that relationship that feels so authentic. I was just reading about the girl, I think I want to say she's in Australia, but I can't remember, who is the single most, highest, biggest Taylor Swift fan based on Spotify Wrapped.
really,
And, it's really remarkable uh, how much she credits the person Taylor Swift, who she's never met, at
yes.
having such a big impact on who she is as a young human, young adult. So I just think the human being behind the music matters.
And we're seeing that because in music, at least, we're seeing concerts. The way that people actually want to go to concerts, the
Right.
craze for them, the lines, the tickets. I mean, it's just at another level. But coming back to this, now a lot of people are saying, okay, you know what? Enough of all of this music slop. Should it be labeled? Should there be a law? Should people have to disclose this is AI generated music? Or it's
I think it's
impossible to
already,
do?
and no, it's already happening. We talked to managers for some of the big artists, musicians, and they are asking their music teams to identify which components of the track were made by AI and which weren't, because they want to know how much risk they're taking putting this music out. So whether or not it's officially labeled by some government authority, the people who care, who are professionals in this space, are absolutely requiring AI music to be labeled.
Now, one personal question. Now, you're in the middle of all of this debate. How do you stay sane through all of this? Because I'm sure you're pounded with these questions every single day.
I love it. I love it. You know, Suki, this is why I got into this world. I love how fast technology changes. I love how fast it opens up new opportunities. I think it's fantastic. I love seeing the industry grapple with new questions, and we're all talking about it. We're all figuring it out together. So I don't know. It's the best thing in the world.
Now, of course, I'm going to ask you my personal questions. Now, I have two girls, 9 year
Yes.
olds, and you've got children. What is the advice that you're giving them? What are you telling the next generation?
You know, I'll go back to it. Sounds like a broken record, but it's really just be creative and be curious. If you're being creative, if you're being curious, if you're teaching yourself how to learn, then the world is yours. But if you get stuck, you know, it's going to be hard because things are going to keep changing so fast.
Now, Kakul, thank you for this conversation. But do you think there's anything that we missed or any message that you're hoping that, look, you need to or want to get out there?
I would just put it out there, whether you're to your listeners, whether they're a 15-year-old kid or a 75-year-old kid, uh, you know, AI is not something to be scared of. It's something to be curious about. Start using it in, your emails and start using it to make music and start using it to explore the world. So use it as a learning tool. I think it's incredible as a learning tool. It is going to be part of the world that we create. I think it's up to us as CEOs in this world to build better tools, but it's going to be here. So let's figure out how to use it well.
Now, we're going to do a quick rapid fire, no thinking aloud. So, whatever
All
comes
right,
to
let's do
your
it.
mind, very quickly, your favorite AI tool at the moment, the one you actually use every single day.
I actually really like Google. I know that's a really weird answer, but I think the way Google incorporates AI into the core workflows that we use, whether it's, document writing or emails or slides or Excel, or sorry, not Excel, Google spreadsheets. I think that integration of AI in workflows is absolutely the right direction. And I love it how they do that. And I love it how quickly they're editing and changing how they do that.
Yeah, I know the Gemini 3 is amazing.
Amazing.
One AI trend that you think is completely overhyped right now.
Prompting to get creative output. I think that is, ugh, it's not fun. And I don't mean that just for music. I really
It's for
think that you
everything.
prompt and you get an image out. Inevitably, the image that you get is not perfect. And then you need to bring it into a creative tool to edit it to be the right thing. So we just need better tools. We need better creative tools that leverage AI. And I'm lucky that I
One,
get to work on that problem.
one AI feature or capability that you think is massively underrated or overlooked.
AI is a learning tool. Like
Yes.
actively prompting ChatGPT, Claude, or whatever to teach you skills, to teach you capabilities. It's such an unlock when people are able to do that.
Now, one human creator that you'd love to collaborate with, because you guys are collaborating with quite a few people right now.
This is an impossible ask, but Mohammed Rafi, like what a creative person he was, and I would love to do that.
And now, if you had to describe the future of music in one word, what would it be?
Limitless.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Kakul. You brought so much clarity to our understanding of what's happening. And I think a little bit calming us down that it's not maybe such a fearful
I
world.
hope I haven't hyped. I want to hype you up. I think it's a great time
No,
to be
I think
alive.
there's a lot of fear. So I think that this positivity, the fact that, yes, we keep understanding that it's a tool and it's not a replacement, because I think that is really, there are two sides of the coin, and a lot of people keep saying, no, it's going to just replace everything. And I think we kind of get our sanity back when we understand, no, it's just helping us become a better version of ourselves, like all technology has done till date.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. I think there's a lot we can do, and there's a lot it can't do right now. The closer you are to it, that you realize what it can't do.
Oh,
And
trust
I
me,
think
I,
that
I feel it every
yeah,
day.
exactly. So there's a lot for us to figure out.
Thank you so much.